Chris Roberts just posted a massive information dump in another letter from the chairman about the future of Star Citizen. And today, I'm going to give you a recap.
Today's video is sponsored by SecretLab. We all strive for the best possible gaming experience, but the importance of a good quality chair is often underestimated. SecretLab produces some of the most comfortable and high quality gaming chairs you can get. So upgrade your Commander chair today and fly in style and comfort. Follow the link in the video description to their store, type in your height, your weight, and it will tell you which chairs fit you for the best possible seating experience.
Hello ladies and gentlemen. So, massive letter is like 10 pages long, and if you don't want to read it, then this video for you, else I'm going to give you a quick recap of some of the most key information that was given in this post. First of all, in his year in review section, he starts by talking about how they've all been, through the whole COVID thing. They're only now just beginning to get back. How that has affected the company, how it has affected the development of both Star Citizen and Squadron 42, how it had made it slower for them to develop, how it's made it more difficult for them. I mean, we've all been there. We've all been through it. We all know what this is about. And he just acknowledges that they have had similar issues as, I guess, everybody else. Towards the middle of this section, he talks about player numbers in Star Citizen and how they have developed over the last year. And there are some astonishing numbers in here. He started by saying that they've seen a huge player influx, both from friends of existing players, aka people who sign up with referral codes, but also new players are flocking into Star Citizen at the moment. In fact, he says that they are getting 2,000 new players per day. I was like, what? Are you serious? That's a lot. Other than that, they have seen a growth in 50% growth in daily active players compared to the last time he posted one of these letters from the chairman, which was in December 2020. So in that year and a half since the last letter, they have seen a daily active players growth of 50%, which is very, very pretty as well. He also mentioned that they just had their 2 millionth unique player login. So this is not player creation, but just players who have actually logged into the game at some point during Star Citizen's lifespan. And he talks about some prospects for the numbers for the remainder of this year. They're expecting to have a total of 4 million accounts. So accounts, remember, those are different from active players or logged in players, because you can have people creating an account but never actually logging in. That's definitely a thing. And they're also on track to have 1 million logins, unique logins. Then there's a section here called Road to 4.0, and this is a very, very interesting section. And this and the following section is all about what's going to be needed in order to move the game into its 4.0 state, and therefore also moving closer to a potential beta test. The first thing he talks about in this section is what's called persistent entity streaming. Persistent entity streaming is what's going to be replacing iCache. A lot of you will have heard about iCache. That thing is now being replaced by persistent entity streaming. The reason why it's being replaced is because iCache could just not perform as well as it should, as number of players were growing, as number of items they want to have persistency for was growing. As the goal is right now, they want to have persistency for everything. Like if you drop a water bottle somewhere in the forest, that water bottle is going to stay there until someone picks it up. And that means they're going to be tracking millions and millions of items that needs to be streamed in and out, back and forth, and they need to keep track of it. And the iCache database, which was a more traditional relational database, just wasn't really up for the task, so they now swapped over to this persistent entity streaming, which is a graph type database instead. So they're swapping some things around on the back end. They've said that building this has been a huge amount of work, and I believe them. And he also said that it just here a week ago had their first internal working demo of the persistent entity streaming. So that means that someone inside Star Citizen has a build of the game where this is working. And this is really, really close. And as we will see here later on in the post, it's also something we are going to get our hands on as players very, very soon. Because in the 2022 testing and release section, He first talks about the 3.18 patch. We of course just got 3.17, and 3.18 is of course then the next patch that's going to follow. He mentioned that the persistent entity streaming is going to be one of the main things they're going to test in this patch. It's going to be the next big tech thing they're going to be testing out. And because it is such a massive change, they're also going to be running the test period for this patch significantly longer than what we're used to. Usually we would see Evocati PTU run 1-2 weeks each. What they're planning here is to have the test for the 3.18 patch run for a total of 2 to 3 months before they put 3.18 into the live servers. They're planning to have 3.18 on the live servers at the end of Q3. So you can calculate backwards. That means after the summer vacation is over, we should begin to see some of the first 3.18 patches going out on at least Evocati, later than on PTU for Wave 1 and Wave 2 testers. And he also mentioned that they are going to be really focusing on stress testing this. So I would expect we're going to see, especially the Wave 2, where we can really get a lot of people in. That's going to be probably one of the longer phases. In this section, he also talks about the whole littering cleanup, literally players littering in game. You had a bottle of water and you threw it on the ground. If they have persistent streaming, that bottle's going to stay there on the station until someone cleans it up. And they talk about different methods to go about this. He talks about they could have some automatic systems that are behind the scenes decide, says, hey, that item has now been on the ground for a week. Nobody's touched it. It's a useless item. Let's just remove it. He also talked about having NPC janitors that would walk around and walk around in game, pick up the litter and throw it in a garbage can somewhere. Possible fines for littering is also an option. The way I understood it was they're kind of exploring all these avenues to approach it, and my personal thoughts are that the final result is probably going to be a combination of some of them. One of the other things that is talked about in this section is the Gen 12 graphic engine. We saw the power of this graphic engine in update 3.17, where we got some very noticeable performance increases after some of the items were moved over to the new graphics engine. With this moving forward in 3.18, we're going to see a lot more. I think actually we're going to see most items, if not all, moved over to this graphic engine. So hopefully that's also going to be further performance increases. And again, I said the whole Gen 12 thing is planned for 3.18 as well. Vulkan support is later on in the year. That's probably going to be part of the 4.0 update, which we're going to talk about next. Because the last pillar that's needed for 4.0 to go live is server meshing. And that is going to be part of the 4.0 update, which is planned to go into Evocati at the end of Q4 this year and live at Q1 2023. Now, there's been a lot of expected dates for the various tests and things here in this section. I would remember that sometimes CIG is a little time optimistic, I would say, where they might announce some dates and some planned release dates for things, and often things do get pushed later on. And there's a lot of unknowns with this. I think there's a lot of unknowns with this persistent entity streaming. There's a lot of heavy tech stuff, both with the graphic engine, both with the server meshing, and I think it's a little optimistic, thinking that timeline is going to stick. So I wouldn't be too surprised if we are going to see changes. I'm probably going to expect 3.18 early next year, and then probably 4.0 in a year's time or something like that. That's kind of my gut feeling. By the way, Pyro, which a lot of you guys are waiting for, is going to be part of the 4.0 update. That means we are unlikely to see Pyro, at least on the live servers, this year. And likely it's something we're going to see next year instead. Then there's a section called Building for Longevity. This is all about employee numbers, offices, which offices are going to be expanded, when and where, and new offices. He talks about they leased some new offices in Manchester and Frankfurt. Not a lot of game-related news, but a lot of company-related news. So if that's something you're super interested in, you can read this section. It's not super long, so it's a relatively quick read. Then there's a section that I think made a lot of people very excited, which is CitizenCon. They're not having a physical CitizenCon this year. It's going to be another digital one. it's premature to begin planning like big events, and I can kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, it would really be a shame if they begin to plan this big event and then all of a sudden another like lockdown comes around and they have to cancel. So I can understand their decision to go for another digital CitizenCon. He also says there's going to be no keynote demos this year, which puzzles me a little bit because like they said they have all these cool like internal demos they are running. Like, then show us that. I don't know. There's going to be other talks and interviews with developers and all that other stuff that we are probably used to. However, that doesn't mean there's not going to be physical events, because there is a section here about Bar Citizen World Tour. And the idea with the Bar Citizens events is they're going to be planning like evenings where they meet up at a bar. They're going to be planning some around their office locations. But if you don't live close to any of the office locations and you want to host, they actually like specifically ask people that, hey, if you want to host a Bar Citizen in your city, then get in touch with them. And I don't know how they can, what kind of support they can give. They can probably help with like promoting it, getting the word out. Exactly what it needs. Like, I guess it would just have to be pick a bar and says everybody who plays Star Citizen, we meet at that bar on that day. It seems like they're planning to have like a new law holiday for this, where we can all meet up at bars at the same time across the world, even though we'll be in separate locations. It's kind of a cool thing to think that you have this whole community sitting at bars all across the globe at the same time. Then we have the final thought section. This is just a lot of thank yous. He says thank yous to all the different teams inside the company, not only the developers, but everyone who has a hand in anything to do with Star Citizen or Squadron 42. He also says thank you to the community for being, well, part of the community, supporting the game, playing the game, helping with testing, and all that good stuff. And with that, we actually reach the end of this post. I'll be posting a link for it in the description if you want to dive into some more details. If some of the sections seems particularly interesting to you, you can go and you can read up on those yourself. But that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in space.